Hello everyone, welcome to my live stream, my second stream of today. I am finally back and ready to start working on this some more. This is my Thanksgiving illustration. I want to switch my reference image to my pumpkin pie because as I was looking at this while it dried, I really wanted to add some different color and start working on stuff other than these crust colors. Because the whole thing, the gradient I put on before anything else is all the same colors as these crust colors, so it's looking it's like too much of the same color. So I want to add in this pumpkin pie color is going to be a lot more orange than the crusts, and then of course I wanted this to be a cherry pie, this will be an apple pie, so that'll be, I think maybe even yellow. I need to look at my reference. And then this is a pecan pie, and that's always sticky sweet, so that might even be a similar color to this, but I'll be looking at my reference images. I also need to add color to these areas. They are just so far down that you can't see anything. I just wanted to put maybe some texture in here so that it's not like a boring blank spot. I might use a sponge technique, but I wanted to work on this pie first. So, since it's such a huge area, I'm going to use the biggest brush that I've got out right now. Let's get it wet. I've got my bowl of water over here to the left, paper towel, all my brushes, and my big palette, which definitely does not fit. Here's what I have to work with. Now, for this pumpkin pie, this particular reference image it's actually quite orange right here, almost red, but the rest is really yellow more than orange. So let's see what I'll use the warmer of my two yellow paints, get some of that going. I might add some red, but I think I should start with this because it's already got a bit of red to it now that I've mixed it with the dry paint from when I was mixing paints for the rest of this stuff that I've already done. I think actually I've got this color nice and mixed and it looks pretty good. I should get this whole area wet first so that I can get nice smooth color application. Wet on wet techniques have been working really well for me today with this piece, so I'm going to keep that going. Just had a thought that maybe having the little space heater on in here, I wonder if it makes my paints dry faster, or the painting dry faster. There's no way I'm turning it off if that's the case though, because it's way too cold. I am freezing today, so space heater is staying on. Well, someone is at my door. I think it's probably Kiki, who is this little kitty right here. A few years ago when I first did a Thanksgiving illustration, I decided that I would use Kiki as my little, I guess, mascot for the holiday, because Kiba, my black cat, works too perfectly for Halloween. Since he's a black cat, that's like automatically really Halloween-like, but also he had really large, long fangs. He only has one left now because he has just the worst teeth. But with him as the Halloween cat, when I decided to do the other fall holidays, I put Kiki for Thanksgiving and Bear, who's our long-haired cat, as Christmas. Christmas is technically within winter, but it's you know, the end of fall. It's around that time. But since it's so cold by then, Bear was a pretty good match, since he has the long, long fur. If you heard some jingling just now, that's my dog Soon. We put on his little Christmas-themed jingle collar today. I'm a big Christmas person, so I would put that on him even sooner if there wasn't Halloween, which I also love. I gave him a Halloween collar, too. He put on his little Halloween collar every day. Okay, and then these parts also need to be colored the same color. Hopefully this is all still wet enough. Now I'm going to start actually applying this color. I think I'll start from the outside in, because it seems like it's darker towards the outside. Trying to work really wet so that this doesn't, I don't want any hard lines, so I can't let it dry before I smooth the color out. I've never used the 300-pound paper before now. Well, before this year. I used it for the first time for my Halloween illustration. I'd always been told that, or read, that with 300-pound paper you pretty much don't have to worry about stretching it or doing anything to protect it from warping, because it can handle water so well. But I guess I work with really wet watercolor. My technique is a really wet technique because it definitely warps for me. It's not a huge problem or anything, but it's not as foolproof as I've always been led to believe. I'll make sure to go outside so that I have this all the way to this corner. Okay, I already need to build myself some more color. By the time I do, I'll probably need to wet this a little bit more. So we'll see. At this time, I'm going to add a little bit more brown or maybe even some red to get it some orange toward the edges. Let's get a little. I've used a little of this red earlier today for this pie crust. And in fact, I need even more red. There we go. That's really nice. Yeah, I'm gonna add a little more water before I start. Get my brush soaking wet. And then put it on the paper. There. Not making much of a difference. I guess I need more color. More pigment. Okay, here we go. Watercolor paints always dry a little lighter. So I gotta make it a little darker than I want, so that when it dries, it's actually the way I want the final piece to look. I'll hold this up a little bit so that I can see. This section is so wet with water that it's really reflecting my lights. Ooh, that is looking pretty. Like it. I like this a lot. Ooh. Let's get even more orange. This edge part needs a lot more. It's almost a cartoony type color. Let's get a little brown though. Ooh, yes, this is the color. Right up here at the edge, it's just this super red brown orangey color. So I'm looking at this reference image. Adding more water to help make all the colors blend in a nice, smooth, sort of organic way. No hard edges. But also, since it's a pie, it wouldn't bake like absolutely perfectly evenly. There will be some more yellow spots here or darker spots there. So that's another thing I'm trying to get. And I need to do it all while this is still wet, so I've got to maintain the dampness of the page. And come back later and do some hard shadows in a few places. How's that? I think that looks good. It's especially good now the whole thing doesn't have that overpowering brown look. I do want the undertones to be brown, but it shouldn't be 100% brown. Now I think I'll work on these little areas. I thought I might use a sponge, but I don't know if that's necessary. I'll see what it looks like if I just paint with a brush, and then if I'm still not happy, I can add some sponged on texture later. I think in order to make it look really far away, I'm going to add some blue. And since blue and orange are complementary colors, and mix it directly into this orange paint that I had mixed for the pumpkin pie. I want it to look like a totally different color than I would use on any of the pies. See, this is why I like these round tip brushes, because I can get in this tiny little area with this huge brush just by standing it on end. Alright, now more blue. More blue. Nice cold color. Of course, hopefully it doesn't stand out too much. I don't want it to bring attention to itself. I want it to fall away from the rest of these pie colors. Ooh, that one's really... Dab this one. There. Okay, I'll let that be. See what it looks like when it dries, and I'm gonna move over to this one. A lot more pigment over here. This color is ending up a little less brown than this one, but they don't necessarily have to match. Because depending on the lighting or what else is around in this scene, things that aren't depicted here, they might be affecting the color. How have some fun with the red for the cherry filling on this pie. Just rinse out my big brush, and I'm going to move to a smaller brush. Use this size, maybe I won't use that small, I'll use this one. And let's switch my reference image. Yeah. At least in this picture, the cherry filling is super bright. So I want to go for that. I have two reds on my palette. One is a little too purple and one is a little too orange for what I want, so I'm going to actually mix them. Try to get the shade that I want. The base color, my ideal base color. That's pretty good. Hopefully this is enough to fill in all of these. I'll add in some details later to make it look like filling, maybe some hints of cherries being in there. But for now I'm just going to fill them in with red. My pumpkin pie is still pretty wet. Paint with my hand up like this. Oh, there. This part's not wet. Turn the picture all the way around. I'm going to hold down this page a little bit. I guess I've used a lot of water on it. It's really wobbly. It's curving up. Sweet, last one. Yay! This is looking even more satisfying now with this blues in here, orange in here. It's actually red mixed with yellow. I don't have an orange per se in this palette, and all these reds right here. So next is this one. I was going to make it an apple pie. I need to see if I have a reference for how that ought to be. Wow, there's still red paint in this brush. There we go. It's good enough at least. Let me click through these. That one's a cherry pie. Oh, might not do apple pie. Well, yeah, maybe I will. It's just that the apples are pretty much the same color as the crust, so the filling won't look any different really. But I guess that's alright, because this one is the same sort of deal. With the pecan pie, it's all just browns. So I'll just continue. I'm going to use this smaller brush now for these little tiny areas. Let's see, what color should I use though? This color looks like mustard. Add some of this yellowish brown. I'll add a little white too. Lighten it up just a little bit. Okay, I'll start with this and see what it looks like. Oh, maybe it's a little too yellow. Let's thin it out with a little more water. This one's definitely going to need some more detail work, because it needs at least a little bit of like dots or spray to show the spices for the apples. Alright, well there's that. Guess I'll move on to the pecan pie filling. It's really similar to the color of the pecans themselves. So I guess I'll add a little more brown. I'll add it to the yellow though. That yellow color I was just using. So it looks a little different. There we go. Although, I think I could use a bigger brush. Yeah. This is a much bigger area. Oops. I'm painting too low for the camera. Gotta be careful. Sometimes I move my brush too fast and it makes little sprays of paint go everywhere. Gotta be careful about that. One little section. Oh, right here. Ooh, almost missed this little tiny dot. Sweet, I think that looks good for now. Definitely not done. I'm gonna turn my heater off. At last I am warm enough. Though my feet are still cold, but that's the story of my life. Constantly cold feet. And not in the afraid of something way. What should I work on next? I guess maybe work on this first crust that I ever worked on. Start adding shadows. Not sure how exactly I'm going to go about this, but let's just see how this goes. Let's draw it up. Ooh, that's looking good. That's looking good. Keep drawing it up. Drawing as in pulling, not drawing as in drawing something with a pencil. A little splash. I'm gonna get that off of there. There we go. Set a little bit more. A little bit of a hard edge here. I don't want to try to work it out, scrub it out. Okay, now just bringing it up. Pat the brush on there to get a little bit of texture too. Might not even be able to tell once it's done, but okay, now this edge. Trying to work quickly so it doesn't dry too much. If it dries too much, yep, it gets to that hard edge and then I've got to work it. There we go. Let's get this hard edge softened up. Oops, I did it again. This isn't as dark as the other crust area, so I'm gonna add a little more brown right along the edge. Switch back to a smaller brush. So now I want to do a little around these parts. These are supposed to be cut out of the crust, so I think they ought to have a dark shadow around each of them to show that there's depth here. whole painting's still pretty damp, but I gotta put my hand down now in order to get these precise lines. Hopefully it won't be a problem. I'm going to do a little bit of dark around Kiki's, what little is showing of her body. Hoping that will show that she's on this pie. Show that the body is farther down than her head, so it's actually able to cast a shadow on the pie. But since the light is just coming generically from above, I don't want it to be too hard of a shadow. Oh, you know, I think this illustration works just as good this way, though this is how I imagined it. It's almost like it's more from Kiki's point of view when it's upside down like this. Okay, how are we doing? Seems like I got a little spot of paint right there on Kiki's face. I scrub it out with a brush. My water is pretty tinted now, so it might not necessarily help. Just use my finger to lift it off. Oh, that's a little better. Well, I definitely need to make this pie darker. Very much darker. In fact, I might just do a whole wash over it. Over that entire area. Pecans and everything. Maybe I'll add a little purple. Add some purple to this brown to give it a slightly different shade. So that's almost the color I'm seeing in this reference photo for the pecans, is just a hint of violet in there. Maybe that's a little bit too warm. Let's add some blue to balance it out a little bit. Ooh, that's nice. That's a nice color. A little bit more dark brown. We're getting there. A little bit more violet again. It's looking kind of gray now. Okay, here I go. So I think the first thing I will do is wet the entire area. I won't get the crust though, because this sort of violet brown color is due to the pecans. So there's not any pecans, not in my crust. So I'm not gonna change the crust color in this way. But everything else, these decorative pecans on the top, plus the filling is all made out of pecans. especially need this to be dark because it's overshadowed, like physically, by these two pies above it. So it would have some shadow cast by them, making it appear darker. Yes, this is much more like the color it needs to be. Add even more dark on this side. Oh goodness, I need a separate dabbing towel for whenever I make a little splash. Alright, I'm going to add a little more blue. I think I'm going to try this blue. This is a greener dark blue. I don't want it to be too much like this color, but I want to show that some of this darker brown is due to being in shadow and not just due to its natural coloring. Dang it, I did it again. Boop. There, get that off there. There we go. Maybe add a little around the pecans. Since the pecans are sticking up out of the filling, they're just set on top of the filling. So they might even be casting their own shadows a little bit. I don't know if you can hear that, but I think Kiki is meowing out there outside of my studio. How's that? It's getting to the point where I'm looking at my camera screen to see what the overall effect is like. Oh, yep, there's Kiki. She made it to my door. Oh, poor Kiki, she wants to come in. She can't come in, especially not while I'm working on a painting. She'll jump up here, get her furs all stuck in the wet paint. She's scratching under the door. It's especially funny because this is a caricature of Kiki. I know you're painting me in there. Meow, meow, meow. That's looking pretty good. I guess I'll leave it at that for now. I definitely want to do more hard shadows around the pecans, kind of how I did these. She's meowing so much out there. But that has to dry first. Now I suppose I'll work on this apple filling. So I need a smaller brush and I'm going to switch reference images. Okay. In fact, I think I'm going to go with my smallest brush, finally. My size 0, according to the Princeton brand sizing. because that way I can make little lines and marks to show the actual slices of apple. Let's see. It's pretty dark brown. There's also reddish brown. The only problem with the tiny brush is it runs out of liquid quickly. I'm not going for the dry brush effect right now, because I've got to treat it like a dip pen for inking. Okay, let's get a little more red brown. I'll show these nice toasted edges like I'm seeing in the reference picture. It's like the sugar in the apples has been caramelized through baking. It's kind of the appearance I see. Oh, I might not be able to get this done in just 2 sessions. My right shoulder is starting to really ache. And it's a lonely stream right now, so there's nothing to take my mind off of it. Off of this twinging shoulder. I really do want to finish this today though, so even if I end this stream, I'll probably come back. Maybe I won't stream, not sure. But I will probably take a break and then work on it some more. But I'm going to finish this pie filling first. Oh yeah, that's looking a lot more filling like. I don't know how long I've been going for. What does this say? Live for about 1 hour, 10 minutes. Guess I could do this leaf, though. Yeah, I'll keep using this tiny brush. I think I actually am going to change. I say I think, but I am. Switch this slightly bigger brush. I just need it to hold more water at once. It's taking too much extra time to keep dipping. Putting the paint on heavy and then getting my brush wet again and sort of feathering it out just a little bit. Really rough feather. This dark stuff is like glaze or something that's been put on these leaves. So that's why I'm feathering it out. It's not just shadows from where these cuts are. I think I might actually use this square brush. Well, they call it a comb brush actually, but well, thinking it might help me get some cool texture with this color that I'm using for the glaze color. The really browned. Browned yummy glaze. After all, when they make these pies like this, if I'm not mistaken, they use a brush to brush the glaze on. The kind of brush I have for such things is squared off like this one. That's pretty good. Let that dry. Oh, this is still a bit damp. Well, maybe this is a good time to take another break. Been streaming for an hour and 17 now. It also could be good if I hang this up so I can look at it from a distance. I can hang it on my cork board. See what it's looking like. Step really far away, see what the overall effect is. And then I can give my back a break too, because it's starting to complain more and more. So I will end this here, and I might be back streaming some more tonight. If not, I'll just work on this without streaming.